Today, Todd.
A lot of people are getting frustrated out there. Marsha
Yeah.
Blackburn was on the show just a little while ago, and she's just livid over what happened at this campaign rally where this
Yeah.
leftist mob is just not letting up.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, the left today, they embrace Kaepernick when he disrespects the flag. They embrace Governor Cuomo when he said America was never that great, and they cheer on Maxine Waters when she says go out and harass anyone who supports the President of the United States. And that is just not what we want. It's fine to debate the ideas, but let's not do things like that and take those radical positions. But how about Secretary Clinton? We'll be civil when we win. My background's in athletics. You're supposed to be civil. There's a way you conduct yourself before, during, and after competition, regardless of the score, regardless of who wins or loses. It's not like, oh, I'll be nice if, in fact, we get our way and we win. It's not supposed to work that way. And yet, the head of their party, that's what she's advocating. So this is not healthy for the country. And I think we got to get back to where we just debate the ideas and do that alone and have the debate that we're supposed to have, not some of these things that are going on.
Yeah, Paul, Speaker Ryan was asked about this over the weekend, and I was really disturbed by what he had to say. I want to play the soundbite. I want to get your reaction to what Speaker Ryan had to say.
I worry about tribal identity politics becoming the new norm of how politics is waged. As conservatives, we always thought this was sort of a left-wing Linsky thing. Unfortunately, the right practices identity politics now as well. It's the day and age, it's technology and everything else. Identity politics, which is now being practiced on both sides of the aisle, is unfortunately working.
Your reaction to what Speaker Ryan said?
No, I don't think it's the concern for me is not identity politics. The concern for me is let's do what we said. Let's do what the American people elected us to do. Let's have an honest debate. But I think today what's happening, particularly on the left, is, Todd, Dennis Kucinich is a friend of mine. Dennis Kucinich is far to the left as he thinks I am to the conservative perspective. But Dennis and I are friends, and Dennis is the kind of guy, get your best hold, make your best argument. Let's talk about the different policy positions we have. But it's not about coming after you, and I'm not about coming after him. That's the way it's supposed to be. But I think there's a difference between the language and the way Dennis Kucinich conducts debate and what Maxine Waters is advocating when she says you get in their face at the restaurant and at the department store. There is a difference, and that to me is the change that I think is not healthy for our country, not healthy for political debate. So that to me is the change. It's not about identity politics. It's about let's have a real debate, and may the best ideas win. And I think the way we're supposed to conduct ourselves as members of Congress is to go do what we said, but to do it in that proper fashion.
Yeah, I'm completely with you. And what troubles me with Speaker Ryan, it's this mentality of, oh, well, both sides are to blame. No, not really. I only see leaders from one party out there advocating violence and confrontation and harassment, and it's not the Republicans.
Yeah. Well, bad behavior is bad anywhere. So people
Exactly.
who are people who are doing these evil things that we saw over the last week with the pipe bombs and the terrible racist, anti-Semitic, evil behavior that took place at the Pittsburgh synagogue. That's just evil, wrong, crazy, bad people.
That's right.
But you're right from political leaders and what they're advocating. That's different. And so look, let's advocate healthy debate, and let's focus on that and the ideas that each party brings to bear, and let's have the debate and may the best ideas win.
The breaking news out of Washington today, President Trump sending around 5,000 troops now. It was originally 800, 5,000 troops to the border. What do you think about the plans?
Every sovereign nation has a right to control their borders. After all, that's one of the things that defines what a nation is. So the president is exactly right. We need to secure our southern border. We need to build a border security wall. And the president says we're not going to let people just come in here illegally. We're going to, for those who legitimately seek asylum and are legitimate asylum seekers, that's one thing. But DHS will has told us that 80% of people who come here seeking asylum aren't legitimate. They're not. So to allow those kind of that to happen and people to come across our border is just not what countries are supposed to do. I agree with the president 100% on his decision to say, no, we're not going to let these folks in.
Real quick on the election, I'm not buying the polls, and I think you guys are going to hold on to the
Yep.
House, but I know what the polls are out there saying, and everybody says I'm off my rocker here on this one. What are you hearing? What's the mood of the electorate like out there?
I think you're right. I think we're going to keep the House. I mean, contrast divisions. The left and their positions they're taking: raise your taxes, abolish ICE, never secure the border, socialize medicine, impeach the president. Contrast that with the amazing record in the last 21 months under the president's leadership. Regulations down, taxes down, economy growing at a record rate, unemployment its lowest in 40 years, Gorsuch and Kavanaugh on the court, out of the Iran deal, embassy in Jerusalem, hostages home from North Korea, and oh, by the way, there's a new NAFTA agreement. Contrast those two visions. And when I think people step back and look at that, I think you're right. I think they're going to say, you know what? We're not going to go with this crazy vision that the left is offering. We're going to stick with what's happening and what's working, what the great success we've had in 21 months under the president's leadership, and I think we're going to keep the House.
And Congressman, we have a lot of folks listening that are big supporters of yours. I know you want to be the next Speaker of the House. What would that look like? What would a Speaker Jim Jordan do for the American people? One
simple thing we're going to focus on, doing what we said. Amazing record under the president's leadership, but we still haven't got the border security wall built. We haven't secured the southern border. We haven't reformed welfare like we need to and require able-bodied people to work if they're going to get your tax dollars. And we certainly haven't replaced Obamacare. We have to focus on doing what we said we would do. More importantly, what we were elected to do. That'll be the focus if I'm given the privilege to lead. But right now, the main thing is just let's keep the majority, and that's what we got to focus over the next week.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. Congressman, as always, appreciate you coming on the show.
You bet.
All right, Congressman Jim Jordan, ladies and gentlemen.
We have another story rocking Washington in the bombshell New York Times piece reporting Deputy AG Rod Rosenstein proposed wearing the secret wire to record the president. Lawmakers are now demanding he come testify. With us, we have Freedom Caucus Chairman, Congressman Mark Meadows of North Carolina, and Congressman from Ohio, Jim Jordan. Good to see you both.
Great to be with you.
Before we get to that news, quickly, want to get your comments, obviously, on, I mean, I don't even know where to begin with what is now unfolding with Judge Kavanaugh.
You know, Sean, I met Judge Kavanaugh at a young lady who interned for us and, more importantly, clerked for Judge Kavanaugh. She's the daughter of Polly and I, some of our best friends from college. And Judge Kavanaugh flew to Morgan's wedding in Madison, Wisconsin. That's the kind of guy he is. He's a good man. He should be on the court. We know he is eminently qualified. We know he's the right guy for the job. And I hope it happens sooner rather than later.
What happens in the Senate? You know these guys maybe too well.
Well, I think at the end of the day, they'll hear both sides. They'll judge it on the merits of that. But I think the tactics that we're talking about is really distasteful to both sides. Mm-hmm. You know, when we really look at this, I got a readout that actually was coming from some of the activists, and they were telling them how to act, what to wear, how they were coming in, and quite frankly, coaching them on what to say. These are people that literally do not have a stake in this. They are organized by certain groups to come out and create chaos. What we need are real hearings and let Judge Kavanaugh stand up for the vote.
Let me ask you both about Rod Rosenstein. The president commented about that today.
Sure.
Said he's been speaking with Rod.
Yeah.
You both know him.
Yeah.
He says he didn't do it. McCabe is one of the ones. Obviously, it was his notes were leaked, and he's known to lie. What do you think?
Well, I think the president's statement is consistent with where he's been. He says obviously he's never wanted to fire Rod Rosenstein. He's told
I think it's a trap myself.
Well, you know, whether it's a trap or not, I think here's the interesting thing is this president is all about transparency. And here we are today, Rod saying he didn't say it. I think he needs to come in before Congress, raise his right hand, and swear, because I can tell you, there are a number of things that Jim and I both know about that Rod did say that really needs some accountability.
He needs to be in front of Congress answering questions. Do we really want in this country the guy who is in effect running the Justice Department, talking about recording the commander-in-chief's conversations? Even if it's done in jest, it shouldn't be done in jest. It shouldn't be done at all. And by the way, this is the same guy who wrote the memo for firing Comey. This is the same guy who hired Bob Mueller. This is the same guy who signed the third FISA. And this is the same guy who, I believe, according to press reports from Fox News, threatened to House Intelligence Committee member because they were trying to get information that I think we're entitled to. So he had better come in front of Congress and answer our questions.
What about the president declassify unredacted materials?
That happened as well.
We've been on this. And listen, here's the interesting thing is, Jim and I have been talking about Rod Rosenstein, DOJ, FBI for months and months and months. The only way for the American people to judge is to declassify these documents and get them out. Let's do the 302 or interviews, because you know what? It will be very illuminating, and we'll know very quickly.
Release it all? Is there any chance, because the president mentioned 2 foreign countries, is there any chance that our intelligence community farmed out violating the Fourth Amendment to our Constitution? Why are you laughing, Mr. Jordan?
Look, all I'm saying is...
That's a laugh that says you're not dumb, Hannity.
No, you're not. You're over the target, let's put it that way.
Lots of information we need to see as soon as possible.
Thank you both for what you're doing.
Thank you.
No, thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
Used over the past just 4 years, because people now know how to make a credible fear allegation. They say, well, this is, I have a credible fear of returning to my home country because they've been coached by these NGOs in the United States, who also should be investigated by the Justice Department. These non-governmental organizations all should be investigated for helping create this crisis. The president's actually trying to do something about it. Jeffrey Toobin says the system is not... What are you smoking over at CNN? That's ridiculous. Asylum applications have skyrocketed. I can't type and speak at the same time, but they have skyrocketed over the past 4 years. I've discussed it ad nauseum on television and on this radio show.
Over the past 5 years, we've seen pretty much a 3-fold increase in the number of people seeking asylum.
Thank you. Yeah, 3-fold increase. But in some sectors, in some areas, it's been like a 400% increase in the number of people bringing children across the border, because they know if you bring someone who's called your child or a family member who's under the age of 18, you can also stay. So the president steps in and says, no, we can't keep doing this. This is causing our system. It's going to cause an untenable situation on our southern border, both for us as a processing entity and for Mexico, and you see what Mexico's saying. Mexico wants nothing to do with these migrants. And so now because of one federal judge, an Obama appointee who was appointed in 2012, can issue a nationwide temporary injunction against the president's action here. I find these nationwide injunctions by a single leftist federal court judge to be an outrage. That has to be done away with as well. No, not a single federal judge should not be able to do this. That's ludicrous. That is anti-democratic to its core. 855-40-LAURA. Yeah, just in CNS News had published something since 2013. This is the number I was looking for. The number of asylum applications that Mexico receives annually has surged 1,000% since 2013. So Mexico is also seeing a huge increase. The numbers into the United States are going up year after year after year. Well, that doesn't surprise me, but they've gone up in Mexico because that's also a transit from individuals. Here it is. Border asylum claims back going back to 2016. The number October 18th, 2016. Jeffrey Toobin can put this in his pipe and smoke it. Up tenfold since 2009. Border asylum claims up tenfold. Oh yeah, but it's not a problem. There's no increase in border problems at all. You're listening to the Laura Ingraham Show, 855-40-LAURA. I want to hear about your Thanksgiving plans. Later on, we're going to talk Butterball Turkey Hotline. I can't wait. We have Thanksgiving horror stories. That's an annual tradition. So when I say horror stories, I don't mean the death in a family, because that's just sad. We're talking about funny disasters, either with cooking or fights with family members. Because if it's Thanksgiving, you're not having a fight with a family member. Is it really Thanksgiving? All right, we'll take a break. The tyranny of the judiciary continues. One federal district court judge can issue a temporary injunction that stops the president from protecting this country. don't go away.
The numbers of people who are being admitted into this country are not that different, so I don't think the system is necessarily overwhelmed.
Over the past 5 years, we've seen pretty much a threefold increase in the number of people seeking asylum.
If you or a loved one get leg cramps or foot cramps, you know how painful it can be, how disruptive they can be. Muscle cramps can jolt you out of a sound sleep or interrupt your daily life. Well, listen carefully, because I recently learned about TheraWorks Relief. It's a non-greasy foam that's proven to relieve muscle cramps fast and reduce muscle soreness. Plus, with daily use, TheraWorks Relief can even prevent muscle cramps before they start. So you can get This one federal judge in San Francisco is going to allow these people to be able to stay and then disappear into the country. 700 people. One federal judge. How many of you think that Robert Bork was right, that these courts are out of control and it's time to limit their jurisdiction? You're listening to The Laura Ingraham Show, 855-40-LAURA. These courts are out of control. They're acting in an anti-democratic fashion, completely beyond their constitutional authority. The idea that the chief executive officer of this country cannot act at a time where people are definitively, without a doubt in anyone's mind who's honest, completely defying the law. And if they're not defying the law, they're gaming the law on fraudulent basis, facilitated by United States non-governmental organizations that get 501c3 status, like this Pueblos Sin Fronteras. And maybe it's time to just defy these court orders and say, make me. Make me. We think your order is illegitimate. How is that court going to enforce the order against the president? I mean, at some point, we either stand up to these runaway judges and really create a constitutional issue here. In other words, the legitimacy of these nationwide injunctions. A single judge should not have this much power. And of course, this one happens to be an Obama appointee, but Trump's had trouble with judges as well that he appointed. And by the way, I just found this. This was so great. The Atlantic. There's a piece in the Atlantic about this judge in Texas when he was considering the Obamacare ruling. And the liberal Atlantic, here's the title of the piece: Judges shouldn't have the power to halt laws nationwide. A court in Texas may put Obamacare on ice everywhere. So this is by Nicholas Bagley, a law professor at Michigan, and Samuel Bray, who's a law professor at Notre Dame. So because Democrats were thrilled, right, when that judge in Honolulu barred the enforcement of the Trump travel ban in 2017. They were thrilled, but now, in the Texas case, they're all freaking out. A judge shouldn't have this much power. You're right, a judge shouldn't have this much power. This is anti-democratic. They should not. One judge should not have the authority to change a U.S. president's justified move on an issue that is as important as it is to both national security, health policy, our economy, and our sovereignty. It's crazy. Now they're coming through Arizona. Of course they are. Why not? They know the Democrats in Congress want to put the Bienvenidos mat out for them. And they know ACLU can run and forum shop and go to some liberal judge in San Francisco and get a ruling on their side. Then all of a sudden it's stopped nationwide.